Tamsin Holloway spent 847 days being brutally bullied at an elite prep school. The administration did nothing. Her tormentors thought they'd broken her forever. Shocking. What happens next is unbelievable. I'm Maya, and this is a story of brilliant revenge. Tamsin Holloway's blood dripped onto her chemistry textbook, mixing with tears she refused to let fall in public. Oops, did I bump you again? Cressida Vaughan smiled, her perfectly manicured nails still clenched from the shove that had sent Tamsin's face into her locker. 3 of Cressida's friends, Bellamy, Zephyr and Indira, laughed from their position blocking the hallway. This was day 847 of hell at Ashmont Preparatory Academy. Tamsin had counted every single one. It started freshman year when Tamsin had accidentally spilled coffee on Cressida's designer bag. A genuine accident. She'd apologized profusely, offered to pay for cleaning, but Cressida was the daughter of the school's largest donor, and Tamsin was there on a scholarship, the daughter of a single mother who cleaned houses. The bullying had been relentless. Rumors, exclusion, accidentally destroying her projects, pushing her in stairwells, stealing her lunch, mocking her thrift store clothes in front of the entire cafeteria. The teachers saw everything and did nothing. Principal Hargrove had told her mother, "Girls will be girls, Tamsin needs to develop thicker skin." That afternoon, after Cressida had tripped her in front of the entire junior class, something inside Tamsin shattered, not her spirit, her fear. She went home, opened her laptop, and typed 4 words into the search bar: schools for bullied students. What she found changed everything. The website was simple: Rixford Institute for Personal Sovereignty, where the overlooked become the unstoppable. Tamsin clicked through pages showing students engaged in self-defense classes, debate competitions, leadership workshops, coding boot camps, and financial literacy courses. The testimonials were powerful. "I was invisible at my old school. At Rixford I learned to make myself impossible to ignore. Jorvik M. They broke me down. Rixford built me back stronger. Nalani K." The program description caught her attention. A 1-year intensive boarding school experience designed for students who have faced systematic bullying, discrimination, or marginalization. We don't just heal, we empower. We teach self-advocacy, confidence, skills, and strategic thinking. Our graduates don't just survive their old environments, they transform them. The cost was high, but they offered full scholarships based on need and circumstance. Applications required an essay, references, and documentation of the bullying experienced. Tamsin spent 3 nights writing her essay. She didn't sugarcoat anything: the harassment, the physical assaults, the administrative indifference, the trauma of walking through school doors every morning feeling like prey. She submitted the application on a Friday. On Monday she received a response: video interview scheduled for Wednesday, 4 p.m. The interview was conducted by director Yves Castillo, a man in his 50s with kind eyes and the bearing of someone who'd survived his own battles. "Tell me why you want to come to Rixford," he said. "Because I'm tired of being a victim," Tamsin answered. "I'm tired of people treating me like I'm worth less because my mother cleans their houses. I'm tired of accepting that some people get to be cruel without consequences. I want to learn how to stand up, how to fight back, how to win." "And what will you do with that power when you have it?" "Go back to Ashmont Preparatory and show everyone who counted me out exactly who I am." Director Castillo smiled. "Welcome to Rixford Institute, Tamsin. Your transformation starts in 3 weeks." Rixford Institute sat on 40 acres in upstate New York, far from the privileged bubble of Ashmont Prep. The buildings were modern but functional, no marble columns or gold-plated donor plaques. This was a place built for purpose, not prestige. Tamsin arrived on a Sunday in late June, her belongings fitting in 2 suitcases. Her mother had cried saying goodbye, worried but hopeful. Her roommate was Kestrel Wu, a girl with a pixie cut and burn scars on her arms, evidence of an accident orchestrated by bullies at her previous school. "They poured chemicals on me in chemistry lab," Kestrel said matter-of-factly during introductions. "Blamed it on my clumsiness. I spent 2 months in the hospital. They got suspended for a week." The orientation assembly introduced them to the program structure. Days ran from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Physical conditioning and self-defense, 6-8 a.m. Academic excellence courses, 8 am 12 p.m. Specialized skill development, 1-4 p.m. Strategic thinking and advocacy training, 4-6 p.m. Personal development and therapy, 6-9 p.m. This isn't summer camp, Director Castillo told the assembled 90 students. This is boot camp for your future. We will push you beyond what you think possible. Some of you will want to quit. Don't. The discomfort you feel here is temporary. The strength you build is permanent. The first week nearly broke Tamsin. The physical training was brutal, her body unused to the demands. The coursework was intense, college-level material taught at an accelerated pace. The therapy sessions forced her to confront trauma she'd buried. But slowly she transformed. Self-defense instructor Maven Okafor taught her that size didn't determine strength, technique and confidence did. Your bullies relied on you being passive, Maven explained. The moment you demonstrate you won't be, they lose their power. Debate coach Theron Alcott trained her to argue with precision and authority. Words are weapons when wielded correctly. Learn to dismantle arguments, expose hypocrisy, and command a room. Life skills coordinator Sable Thornton taught financial literacy, professional networking, and personal branding. The best revenge is becoming so successful they have to watch you win. By August, Tamsin could run 5 miles without stopping, argue Supreme Court cases, code a basic app, and flip someone twice her size in sparring. More importantly, she'd learned to look people in the eye without flinching. The final month at Rixford focused on strategic re-entry, preparing students to return to their old environments from a position of strength. Going back isn't about seeking revenge, Director Castillo explained during their seminar. It's about reclaiming your narrative, showing the people who diminished you that they don't define you, that you've moved beyond their limited perception. But Tamsin had a different idea. She'd learned about Title IX coordinators, school board procedures, and legal obligations regarding bullying. She'd documented everything from her time at Ashmont, every incident, every ignored complaint, every administrator who'd looked the away. And she'd connected with 2 other students who'd left Ashmont because of similar treatment. During her final week at Rixford, Tamsin developed what she called Operation Accountability, not revenge, justice. She would return to Ashmont for senior year, but not alone. She'd return with evidence, allies, and skills that made her unstoppable. Kestrel, who'd become her closest friend, helped refine the strategy. You're not going back to fight them on their level. You're going to operate on a completely different plane, one they can't reach. On graduation day, Director Castillo gave Tamsin a piece of advice. Remember, strength isn't about domination. It's about not being dominated. You've reclaimed yourself. Don't lose that in pursuit of making them pay. Tamsin nodded, but her eyes held a determination that said, I'm not pursuing revenge, I'm pursuing justice, and I won't stop until I get it. Tamsin walked through the doors of Ashmont Preparatory Academy on the first day of senior year, looking like a different person, because she was. Gone was the hunched posture, the downcast eyes, the desperate desire to be invisible. She stood straight, made eye contact, and moved through the hallways with the confidence of someone who knew exactly who she was. Cressida spotted her near the lockers. The recognition came with visible confusion. This couldn't be the same mousy girl she tormented. Well, the charity case is back, Cressida said, approaching with her usual entourage. Thought you'd finally given up and transferred. Tamsin turned, meeting Cressida's gaze without a flicker of fear. I took a gap year for personal development, spent it at a specialized program, learned a lot. Like what? How to shop at thrift stores, Bellamy sneered. Like how to file Title IX complaints, how to document systematic harassment, how to identify institutional negligence. Tamsin's voice was calm, almost friendly. How to build legal cases. The hallway had gone quiet, people were listening. Are you threatening me? Cressida's voice rose, but there was uncertainty underneath. I'm informing you. I spent the summer cataloguing every incident of bullying, harassment, and assault from the past 3 years. I have testimonies from other students you've targeted. I have documentation of every time administrators were notified and failed to act. Tamsin pulled out a tablet. I've already filed formal complaints with the school board and the state education department. I've also retained a lawyer specializing in educational discrimination and hostile environment cases. Cressida's face went pale. You can't, my father. Your father's donations don't supersede federal law. Title IX requires schools to address harassment. Ashmont has systematically failed in that obligation. The school board is now legally required to investigate. If they don't act appropriately, the lawsuit names both the individuals who perpetrated the harassment and the institution that enabled it. Principal Hargrove appeared, having heard the commotion. "Miss Holloway, I think we should discuss this in my office." "We can discuss it at the emergency school board meeting tomorrow night," Tamsin said calmly. "I've already submitted my formal presentation. I believe my attorney sent you the documentation this morning. You have 24 hours to review it." She turned to face the assembled students, many of whom had witnessed or experienced similar treatment. "To anyone else who's been bullied here, I've started a student advocacy group. We meet Thursdays. We're documenting everything, supporting each other, and ensuring administration takes harassment seriously. You're not alone anymore." Then she walked away, leaving stunned silence in her wake. "I bought a penthouse in Eclipse Heights, modern and mine. Garrison lived in a modest apartment now, working as a consultant. We had dinner monthly, slowly rebuilding something honest. Venetia and I spoke occasionally, strained conversations. Maybe one day we'd find our way back, maybe not. Ivory was thriving, running an event planning business for mental health awareness. Caspian had gone back to school for social work. My siblings and I had become friends, united by shared trauma and determination to break the cycle. The Second Chances Fund helped 23 people in its first year, 23 who'd been homeless, jobless, counted out, who now had businesses, careers, purpose. And me, I was happy, actually genuinely happy. Not because I'd destroyed my parents or become wealthy, those felt hollow now. I was happy because I'd discovered who I really was when everything was stripped away. I was Sable Ashford, not mediocre, not ordinary, not defined by approval or disapproval. Just me, and that was enough. My phone buzzed. Quintessa, found another one, 26-year-old veteran homeless after medical discharge, brilliant logistics mind, interested. I smiled, "Send details, let's change another life." Because that's what you do when you've been saved, you save others. That's what you do when you've been given a second chance, you create second chances. And that's what you do when people try to break you, you prove broken things can rebuild into something stronger. My parents thought throwing me out would teach humility, it taught me power. They thought poverty would crush my spirit, it forged my character. They thought I'd come crawling back. Instead, I built an empire that made theirs look like cards. True success isn't measured in dollars or revenge. It's measured in lives touched, people lifted, legacy left behind. My parents left fraud and broken promises. I was leaving hope and second chances. When I looked in the mirror now, I didn't see the girl they'd thrown away. I saw the woman I'd chosen to become, scarred but not broken, tested but not defeated, rejected but not worthless. I saw someone who turned her worst moment into her greatest triumph. I saw a survivor. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. The emergency school board meeting was packed. Tamsin's mother sat in the front row, nervous but proud. 3 other families whose children had left Ashmont due to bullying attended. A reporter from the local newspaper was present. Tamsin had made sure of that. Tamsin presented for 20 minutes. She outlined the systematic harassment she'd experienced, the pattern of administrative negligence, and the violation of Title IX protections. She showed emails to administrators that went unanswered. She presented medical documentation from students who developed anxiety and depression. She demonstrated how Ashmont's culture protected privileged bullies while punishing their victims. The board members shifted uncomfortably. Cressida's father, board member Vaughan, tried to interrupt several times but was overruled by the board chair. "These are serious allegations," Chair Morrison said. "We'll need to conduct a thorough investigation." "The state already is," Tamsin replied. "I filed a complaint with the Office for Civil Rights 3 weeks ago. They've opened a federal investigation into Ashmont's compliance with Title IX. This meeting is your opportunity to get ahead of that." Principal Hargrove looked like he might be sick. The reporter was writing everything down. By the end of the meeting, the board had voted to implement immediate policy changes, mandatory staff training on harassment, a new reporting system, an independent Title IX coordinator, and a complete review of all past complaints. More importantly, They agreed to discipline for students found to have engaged in systematic harassment, including potential expulsion. Outside the meeting, a group of younger students approached Tamsin. One girl, maybe 14, looked nervous but determined. I was scared to say anything before, but I want to join your advocacy group. What they did to you, they've been doing it to me too. By the end of the week, 43 students had joined. 3 months into senior year, Ashmont Preparatory Academy looked different. Cressida had been suspended for 2 weeks after the investigation confirmed her role in systematic harassment. Upon her return, she was placed on strict behavioral probation. Her father's donation was returned by the board with a statement that no financial contribution supersedes our obligation to student safety. Bellamy transferred schools. Zephyr and Indira issued formal apologies. Principal Hargrove was placed on administrative leave and quietly encouraged to retire. The new Title IX coordinator, Ms. Waverly Chen, actually responded to complaints and took action. But the bigger change was cultural. Tamsin's advocacy group, which she named the Rixford Alliance in honor of the school that had transformed her, met weekly. They taught students their rights, how to document harassment and how to support each other. They brought in speakers on mental health, conflict resolution and empowerment. The group expanded beyond just bullying victims. Student athletes joined to address hazing. Students of color joined to address microaggressions. LGBTQ+ students joined to address discrimination. They created a culture where speaking up wasn't seen as weak, it was seen as strong. Tamsin herself had become a different person, not because she'd gotten revenge, but because she'd reclaimed her power. She no longer needed Cressida to suffer, she needed the system to change. In November, she was approached by Director Castillo. "I heard about what you've accomplished," he said during a video call. "I'm not surprised. You understood what Rixford was really about, not just personal transformation but systemic change." "I had good teachers," Tamsin replied. "We'd like to offer you an opportunity. Every year Rixford brings back one graduate to serve as a student mentor and speaker. You'd share your story with incoming students, show them what's possible." Tamsin thought about the terrified 15-year-old she'd been, blood dripping onto her textbook, counting days of misery. Thought about the girl at the board meeting, scared but brave enough to speak up. "I'd be honored," she said. Graduation day at Ashmont Preparatory arrived in May. Tamsin stood backstage in her cap and gown, preparing for the speech she'd been selected to give, not as valedictorian, but as the student chosen by her peers. The irony wasn't lost on her. 2 years ago, she'd been the girl everyone ignored or tormented. Now she was representing her entire class. She walked onto the stage to genuine applause. In the audience, she saw her mother crying happy tears. Kestrel had driven down from Rixford to watch. Director Castillo had sent flowers. 2 years ago, I stood in front of a school board and demanded accountability, Tamsin began. But today I want to talk about something different, transformation. She told her story, not dwelling on victimhood but highlighting the journey, the decision to fight back by building herself up. The year at Rixford that taught her strength came from skill, knowledge and community, not domination. The choice to return not for revenge, but to create the environment she'd wished she'd had. "I learned that the best response to people who try to make you small isn't to make them smaller. It's to become so authentically, powerfully yourself that their opinion becomes irrelevant." She paused, "and then to help others do the same." She looked out at the audience, saw younger students in the crowd, some of whom had joined the advocacy group, who were safer now because someone had finally said enough. "We're all leaving here today to go build lives. Some of us will be successful by traditional measures, wealth, prestige, recognition, but I hope we'll all be successful by a better measure. Did we make the world kinder than we found it? Did we protect the vulnerable? Did we stand up when it was hard?" Her eyes found Cressida in the crowd, sitting with her parents. The girl looked different too, humbled maybe, changed by consequence in a way privilege had never forced her to be. "Thank you to everyone who stood with me. Thank you to the people at Rixford who rebuilt what bullying had broken. And thank you to the people who made my life hard, because you gave me a reason to become stronger than I ever imagined possible." The applause was thunderous. After the ceremony, Tamsin found herself surrounded by students, parents, and even some teachers, but the moment that mattered most came from an unexpected source. Cressida approached, hesitant. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. They walked to a quiet corner of the courtyard. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," Cressida said. "I don't deserve that, but I wanted you to know. Everything that happened made me look at who I was, who I'd become. The suspension, the investigation, watching you build something good while I'd been building. Nothing. It changed me. I'm starting at a new school next year. Starting over, trying to be better." Tamsin studied her former tormentor, saw something genuine in her eyes. "I hope you succeed," Tamsin said simply. "Not for me, for you, and for whoever you meet next who needs you to be better." It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't friendship, but it was closure. 5 years later, Tamsin Holloway stood in front of a new group of incoming students at Rixford Institute. She was 23 now, finishing her master's degree in education policy while working part-time as a student advocate. The 90 faces looking back at her were scared, hopeful, broken, and determined, exactly as she'd been. "I know what you've been through," she began. "I know you feel powerless right now, like the people who hurt you like nothing will ever change." She paused, remembering that girl with blood on her textbook. "You're right about one thing, you can't change what happened, but you can change what happens next. This year isn't about revenge, it's about reclamation. You're going to reclaim your confidence, your voice, your future, and then you're going to go back out there and show everyone who counted you out exactly what they missed." She smiled at the sea of faces, saw her younger self in each of them. "My name is Tamsin Holloway. Welcome to Rixford Institute. Your transformation starts today." Behind her, Director Castilla watched with pride. The cycle continued, victims becoming advocates, pain becoming purpose, weakness forged into unbreakable strength. The best revenge, Tamsin had learned, wasn't hurting the people who hurt you. It was becoming so powerful they couldn't hurt you anymore. And then teaching others to do the same.